Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome. Sunday market overview live stream. I guess it should probably be a Sunday market preview live stream, but it's also the overview of Fridays. So we'll get started today. Again, welcome. Hey, Christoph. I am well, just a little tired, super busy right now. Gonna have to keep this live stream a little quicker, but we have to still do our market prep. So I hope you're doing well too, Christoph. Hello, John. Good afternoon. How's your weekend going so far? Again, been super busy, super tired. Just a lot going on. So could really use a nap. Hey, great overview today. Fantastic, Ken. Welcome. Thank you. By the way, if you are new here, please do consider subscribing, ringing that bell, and hitting the like button. Longer term viewers, please like the video and come back and leave a comment, please. Not just in the live chat, but come back and comment on the video. It really helps. Up or down this week? You better be just kidding. We'll get into it, but I'm going to watch for some continued downward price action, at least, especially in the beginning of the week. And any bounces essentially are to be sold right now. Again, we're in long-term bearish mode, but we'll go over everything in 1 second. So, hey, Jake, welcome. Wow, we just got a lot of people spending their Sunday afternoon here. So, and then all the people who don't say anything in the chat who watch, because I can still see there's more viewers, but that's another story. Don't be intimidated. Also, if you do want to chat, please. Hopefully my cameras are working better. Did a full reset of everything. By the way, let's take a look at the economic calendar for the whole week. Tomorrow you have Chicago National Activity Index for March and the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index for April. So we're going to see how those come out. But other than that, it's a quiet day. Tuesday, durable goods is going to be interesting. So that's going to be right at 7:30 Central. Remember, all times I use are 7:30 since I'm in the Chicagoland area. When I move, I will update that. Well, no, we'll probably either keep it on Central or Eastern time, depending on where I move to. House price index at 8. And then consumer confidence at 9, new home sales, Richmond Fed manufacturing index. So a lot going on Tuesday. Let's see. Before we get, I got to say hi to Amit. Hey, Amit, thank you. Wednesday, mortgage out really early. Then we have retail inventories and pending home sales, and of course, crude. Thursday, we have GDP growth rate quarter over quarter, the advanced one, which is for Q1, forecast at 1.1. That's going to be very interesting. Then jobless claims, core PCE prices, that's going to be very interesting. Forecast is 5.6, so it'll be interesting to see where it comes in, whether hotter or cooler than expected. And the price index quarter over quarter expected at 7.4, so that's going to get very interesting. And jobless claims and PCE prices. And then finally, Friday, the core PCE price index. Okay, so you have the core, and then you have just the regular one, and all the components. And then at 9, that's at 7:30. Then at 9, Michigan consumer sentiment, the final numbers, and Chicago PMI at 8:45. So back end of this week, heavily loaded with potentially market moving stuff. Just to recap, you can see, and I went over to sector overview. So if you haven't watched that yet, please, when you're done with this, take a look at that. I expect a lot more sectors to continue to pull back. There's not many hiding places in this market right now, and you can see that by limited green. So it could get very, very interesting, especially in the next few days. I'm not really bullish. There's long-term stuff that's still in bull mode, but I'm watching for short-term pullbacks on it. So there's not a lot that I'm saying, all right, let's go out and search high and low for trades. The FedWatch tool. FedWatch tool now, there's a 0.4% chance, and I don't think they'll do a 75 basis point, but that is for a 75 basis point. The 50 is completely baked in at this point. Remember, we are also in negative gamma territory, which amplifies moves both up and down. So please keep that in mind. Also, earnings this week. Definitely going to peek in at Coca-Cola. I was looking at Coke, for potential pullback plays, but these PEs now, like Coca-Cola's PE is 29. See, that's the other problem I'm spotting. I did some analysis on some fundamental analysis, which runs secondary to the technical analysis, but a lot of these technical value stocks, they're not in value territory at all anymore. They're actually way overvalued, and they've hit some topping patterns. So yeah, they can be pulling back into things like the short-term rotation zone, but they could be ripe for a much bigger pullback. There's not a lot of safety in this market. That's what I'm finding. There's not a lot of great setups. And a lot of the sectors that are in bullish mode are actually slated to pull back even more potentially. UPS definitely on Tuesday morning. PepsiCo, we'll take a look at that too. I will personally. Then Microsoft after the close, Alphabet/Google after the close, definitely with Visa after the close. Chipotle is another interesting one to watch. Wednesday before the open, where we have, where's William when you need him? There's your Boeing. T-Mobile, and I am not bullish on the communications stocks from the sector analysis. That's something that will come out after the close. Meta/Facebook on Wednesday. Qualcomm. So you got a lot of stuff. Teladoc losing its sort of its status as a high flyer based off where the pandemic is at this point. PayPal. Thursday, Twitter. Of course, we're going to have to see with the continuing saga with Elon. They're supposedly in talks today about it. Southwest going to be interesting because airlines are still potentially some bullish plays. Definitely McDonald's will be interesting. Apple after the close on Thursday. So you got a lot of big tech names. And tech is in full-blown bearish mode for the sector. So, as I said in the sector overview, actually, on any pops from any of these tech names, it's actually sell the pops. It's sell anything that's rallying and set up for a longer term pullback. Amazon after the close on Thursday. Roku lost its luster. Intel always watching that with the semiconductors, and that's a long-term play I really do like in certain key areas. We'll check in Robinhood also because we have people who follow the stream who trade that. Then Friday we got energy kicking in. ExxonMobil, Chevron, Phillips 66. So keep an eye on all that. Very busy. Do not ignore these earnings plays because especially they could beat, but its guidance is what matters. And a lot of these techs, if they guide lower, even if they beat guide lower, could have continuing sell-off effect, especially on the Nasdaq. All right. Let's see. Hey, Jake, having grown up near Chicagoland and also living in Florida and now South Georgia, I can safely say you would love the South, Mike. And I've lived in so many places around this country, and Chicago's getting really tough at this point with the weather. Hey, Lauren. Thoughts on SPX for the week? Possible March retest and break. If it breaks and clear path, we'll take a look at that. Apple hasn't given guidance in almost 2 years, and we'll see if they start. But other companies will give guidance. So here's what I'm watching. By the way, S&P on the longer term is getting really close to triggering a sell signal. So keep that in mind. Could be triggering by the end of this week. On a daily basis, also, we did close below that 62.5% level. Let me take a couple things off. 62.5% level is right here. And we're there. What does that statistically mean? We should retest at least 41.90 to 41. Actually going to pull this one all the way down. It's still closed below that level right here. So that favors, ignore 41.90. It favors 41.68 to 41.01 area. Does that mean you can't have rallies? But rallies are to be sold, and especially this might tip into the long-term sell signal again. What would I be watching for rallies? We'll take a look at that. Now we'll fine-tune this with some overnight price action. So come and tune into the preview show tomorrow. But my first level I'd watch for is 4,300. A return to 4,300 with the overnight trading, and that would be with the 1 hour rotation zone. That's what I'd watch, especially when Germany and Europe opens. That's what I'm keying off of. Now to the downside. The downside here, my next levels, if we do really break below about 42.34, then 41.99.50 to 41.92 is key, and then we're going down to about 41.53 to 41.58. That's just below that 87.5% harmonic. So we're getting into short-term oversold, so at some point we might see a little bounce, but we don't have any strong bottoming pattern yet. You can see here there's nothing. Based off Friday's price action, there is nothing that's set up so far. Even on, look at the 15 minute, there's just nothing. So we have to rely on the overnight price action to watch for. But cycles are rolling over on the daily. And from the weekly perspective, we're back below the rotation zone, and cycles still have a ways to go before they hit the bottom, and weekly's not yet oversold. So we definitely have potential room to run for the downside. Yeah, I agree. Only Apple can get away with no guidance. So we'll see if that can continue or not. Nasdaq is back in full-blown sell mode long term. So there's it just shifted again to sell mode with that system I show on here, but it's been in sell mode along with the S&P and the Dow are in also long-term sell mode with other systems I follow. Okay, that I can't release because of disclosure rules and everything else, but I can tell you that they are in long-term sell mode. And I'll also tell you if they do enter buy mode. Nasdaq, though, again, closed down below the 62.5 most recently on Thursday, and then continued lower, retesting close to this 87.5, so 13,237 to about 12,968 is what I'm expecting this week to retest that low area. You can watch intermediate about 13,050 in there, for that's this cluster within that area. On any rallies overnight, I'm just going to be watching about 13,422 to about 13,450 for the key resistance. If it did get above there, then 13,523. But again, you don't see any potential bottoming pattern on here yet. So this is very bearish price action. We should definitely test the lows in Nasdaq this week. The lows that were from the March 15th bottom, short-term bottom. Based off the weekly, you can see here back below the weekly rotation zone and favoring the low test. The cycles are rolling over, but not yet near the bottom and not oversold on a weekly basis. Remember, weekly trumps daily also. Is it okay to short hood stock as a hedge? I think you could. I think there's some better. Oh, and what are you hedging against? There's some better stuff to hedge. Hedge your whole portfolio. I just wouldn't rely on shorting hood. Okay? You're better to play like an inverse ETF or something at this point. Then depending on how your portfolio's structured. I mean, if your portfolio is tech heavy, then I would be favoring inverse QQQ. Inverse of the QQQ, something for a hedge. If it's more like S&P 500 based, then you'd be trading inverse of the SPY. If it's more Dow based, you have inverse of the diamonds. It's something that if the market goes down, those do rally. Yes, it is getting interesting, Amit. Impressed how well Tesla's held up. Good earnings, but it's such a capital and commodity intensive business. And it's Tesla. And you have people that just keep buying it, and we'll just have to wait for the rollover breakdown play. But even Apple's been holding up remarkably well. If they start breaking, really watch out below. Hello, options 22, quick and dirty QQQ, please. Let me just get through the Dow, and then we can, and the Russell, then we can jump back into the spiders and the Qs. The Dow triggered a double top pattern, which favors the return. I'll give you all the levels, but it's also below the 50%. The major thing is a close below about 33,383. Then I'd really be targeting 32,579 to about 32,165. Until you get the close below that 62.5, your double targets, though, are about 33,419, so I'll watch for a potential bounce play here. But then 33,127, 32,835. So the Dow, even though it hasn't closed below that 62.5 level, is in bearish mode due to the double top. You see the weekly pattern coming back down, back below the rotation zone, still holding up better than the Qs and the spiders, but triggering a major sell pattern in there. So please keep that in mind. Long-term system might trigger, if we do head lower all week long, might trigger a sell signal in the Dow too. Russell, by the way, Russell in long-term mode has been in sell signal. This has been in sell since 18th of January and remains in sell mode. Just to keep that in mind, breaking down and a close now below this key 1942 area. So I'm watching for a retest of this 1908 area in the Russell. Any rally, major resistance is back to 1980. Now let's peek in. Spiders first. Again, spiders are below the 62.5 on the closing basis, so I'm watching for the return to lower price action. Spiders, 421.44 to about 420.74 is the next key targets at downside, and then we're looking at about 416 to 415. Now on the overall from these lows, you see also below that 62.5, so longer term, you're 417 to 416 right in there would be my major target first, and then it would be the return to the lows back on the 24th of February. On any rally, again, no bottoming pattern here, but 430 is the first area. You have this clear path up here. We'll have to do some more analysis tomorrow based off what the futures are doing, but this is the first key level of resistance, and the next major level now is back at 436.35 area. The Qs. So you see here back below the 62.5 and continuing lower. Again, we don't even have good pausing bars to do the harmonics yet, so we'll have to fine tune them tomorrow. But this favors, it's almost at 87.5% harmonic, 324.08, but a break below there. My next target is 317.40 to about 319.10. And then if it breaks to lows, based off this price action, I'd be targeting 313.24, but hopefully I can fine tune it tomorrow. So take these with a grain of salt, but not this most recent major swing low. On a rally in here, 331 would be the area I'd be watching. You see this little pausing area into the 1 hour rotation zone and the prior 75% harmonic. Above there, not even back to 62.5, I would be watching and keying off of about 336. So those are that. We'll peek in on the diamonds also. The diamonds, again, you have that double in the futures. So this is also going to be roughly a double. Here's the targets if you want to trade the diamonds, and you could use these targets and you can go with an inverse of the diamonds too if you want to play it to the short side and don't want to short. 334.65, 331.47, 328.29 are the targets to the downside. So that's where we're looking in all of that. Let's see. I kept my spot puts and now even lower than Thursday. Should I keep holding till earnings? I believe it will dump just like Netflix. I believe they lose some subscription also. I can't give you individual trading advice, because I don't know your portfolio and everything else. Earnings for Spotify are on the 27th. What I like to do is at least lighten up something, because earnings, yes, I think it could head lower, but I like to at least lock in some profit. So if you get that weird bounce, something is locked in. That's my personal preference when I have something that's made me money going into earnings. So would I be necessarily locking it in tomorrow? No, but I'd be looking to lock something in, especially going into that earnings play, and then leaving something on for a continued flush move. It does not hurt to lock profits in, especially with this nice, see, you had this Spotify go back to the weekly rotation zone, rotating lower. Also, it's in this key support area, so it really needs to break. And if it breaks below 104 before earnings, it will get really interesting, because right down here, it's actually 103.29. You get below that, then it's at new lows since the low after the IPO. So please keep that in mind. I do not have a problem, especially this nice 3-week rollover, to lock in something with earnings coming up. And I don't know your expirations. I don't know your strike prices. I don't know anything else. So that's why I can only give you general information. So that's my opinion. Lower prices, longer term. You have the earnings in the way, which is just a gamble point of view. But especially once we break below those IPO lows, then it can get really interesting long term. Do I think this is start of a crash? A crash is, I think it's a continuation on the market pullbacks. Crash? I mean, Friday was not a crash. Friday was just a very orderly sell day. And if you look at the S&P, if you look at the short-term price action, this is just controlled, very controlled selling. So I don't know if it's the start of a crash, but I know it's a retest. Just statistically, we should retest the low areas, as I already went over. Speaking of crude, I really don't have anything going on in crude. If we break below Friday's lows, 100, and then back down to 97.60, a break above about 104, I'll target about 105.50, 105.70, and then about 107. I'm just waiting for it to get out of this pattern right now. Longer term, remember, it is still strong buy mode, but it could easily still head lower before higher. But right now, there's just not much going on unless you're getting down to these short-term charts, but there's even not a great setup there. So it's either a breakdown or breakout play for me in crude. Gold, I'm going to watch for a continued bigger commodity pullback still. Gold, I'm targeting 1911 to 1920 for at least see if it holds a bottom in there. And if we break below there, it would be the retest of the 29th of March. Longer term, still very, very bullish on gold. Short term, we're getting to some daily cycle bottoms, but weekly cycles, we still are trying to put in a longer term bottom pattern. So I will be watching for at least a short term pullback, but then long term shifting back up. Silver's pretty much the same position. Silver, really pay attention to it, around this 24.12 to 24 level. Could get real interesting for a short-term bottom in there. Notes, I'm going to watch for a reversal play. We're starting to get divergences down here. Cycles starting to turn up, especially if the market takes another dump this week. Watch for still some money to flow into bonds and notes. And we're off the weekly rotation zone pretty far. So, there could be a very interesting bounce play in notes, especially with cycles turning up and divergences. My first major target area is about 119.16. Dollar index pushing higher. Still, we do have a potential double top. It'd have to get below 98.81, but the next target, if it follows through with dollar strength and security, would be 101.53. VIX, as I talked about on Friday, triggered this double bottom pattern, stopped pretty much right at the first target. So for following the VIX tomorrow, 29.40, 31.01. And we'll look at the VXN. The VIXN also triggered on Thursday and through the second target. Next target is 35.88. We might be able to fine tune that on the continued with the when the VIX and Vixen open up again. Amazon may do a Netflix move after earnings. It might. I mean, Amazon also closed below the 62.5. So I'm favoring a move to 27.65 to 26.71. Okay, and remember, earnings on the 28th, but we could easily, and you have a gap here. So starting to get to oversold condition, but cycles are still rolling over. So if again we have weakness before earnings, you can easily see lower price action on that. Again, I'm not rushing to touch any of these from the long side. Mike, given what we know for the Fed is going to raise rates and some idea on the amount and when, but did Powell say this week to make markets finally take him? I think it's just the constant talk about, and even the talk of now the 75 basis point hike, just that they're not kidding. They're not going to ease up on this. It's just getting reiterated, and now we're in earnings seasons. You're getting companies guiding lower, even with decent results. Then you have some carnage like the Netflix stuff, and it's just like, uh-oh. Now, Netflix, by the way, could get interesting for a potential long-term takeover play. So that is something we have to keep in mind from that. Talked about that a bit on Friday. But Amazon definitely favoring the lower prices here. And remember now, we're in the quiet period for the Fed. So there cannot be, until the meeting, which is what, May 4th, there is no more Fed speak coming out. So we're in the Fed quiet period starting on Monday. So they can't really talk. A diehard on Tesla. Remember the upcoming stock split shareholder meeting August September could super dive in hand, so downside could be limited or bounce back, but will be quick. You always have the people just want to hold that stuff. I don't see Elon's always the wild card. Elon, if they do move forward with the Twitter thing, and he's got to collateralize more shares, and if he has to sell some, it could get interesting. But there's just nothing besides a technical breakdown play if it does move. Other than that, it's sort of in no man's land right now. Now, I'll get short-term bearish on a move below 975. That's where the 50, that's where the support shelf is. We came out of the horizontal channel, popped to the upside, and now is reversed nearly halfway. So if you get a lot of these mega caps selling, it can withstand a lot more with the option stuff, and the people just hold it no matter what. But below 975, I'd then watch for a breakdown to 930 short term. And then it'll be interesting to see if it breaks that. About 900 is major support. For the bullish levels, right now, we'll just review this to go into tomorrow. But I thought I reversed that. The bullish levels, I can't get short-term bullish until it's back above about 1048, 1050 level. Thank you for sharing your 2 cents. I like to hear what everybody thinks. That's why I look at all the comments. Unless you're really going to be not nice person in your comments, I will pretty much show every comment. So if you ever see me skip a comment, it's pretty much either it's completely irrelevant to the live stream, or it was just something that is not worth broadcasting to everybody watching it on demand. Check out T. I posted in Discord weekly potential double bottom and a very interesting potential daily double top. Yeah, and remember communications I'm still very bearish on. That is, it's a very sloppy pattern. I just got to check the harmonics here. I want to see where it hit. Did not get to the final harmonic. So your double top pattern, I just want to see both, yeah, there's your targets right there because of this flat area. I go with the conservative targets here. So it would trigger below 1903, 1849, 1822, and 1793. And remember, go watch the sector overview. I am very bearish on this. Verizon also, remember, just Verizon, then we'll jump back to that. Again, same communication sector. There were their earnings, even though they did beat on earnings, missing on revenue, and then just got massive bar. I mean, this was a huge reversal move in Verizon. So I like that play. I like that play. Now let's take a look at that longer term. Longer term, yeah, you still have this weekly potential double. How did that get up there? Fair way off from triggering, but we should put it up there for the sake. If you got to close above, and I'd only trade this on a longer term basis, a close above 2074 would then 2256, 2348, 2439. So you do have a bullish short-term pattern and a bullish longer-term pattern. But if this double triggers and then it keeps lower, it could go into triple bottom territory. That would invalidate this potential double bottom. Also, your weekly cycles are at a top. You are overbought on the weekly, so we could easily see this still head lower. Thank you for posting that. Is the Fed trying to break consumer demand to fix one aspect of inflation, given they have on control on supply chain? I think they're trying to engineer a slowdown. I actually think they won't mind a recession. I think they'd mind a severe recession because that would actually help a minor recession. I don't think they'll get that, though. I think we'll actually get into a more severe recession than they think. But they have to get this inflation tamed, and it's going to not be a pretty battle. RJF has a good-looking triggered daily double top. Yep, RJF. We love double patterns. So, yeah. Gap here also, 128 first target down. So, again, this is just on any short-term rallies that sell the rally. Earnings coming up on the 27th. So but this is completely valid triggered trade with the cycles on the daily rolling over and on the weekly rolling over. So we could easily favor lower price action with the completion of this. Now keep in mind, on any pop rally, if it pops between 104.85 and 106.60, that is a great rollover sell area to watch for. So any short-term pop would be a rollover play. Thank you, Jake. What are your thoughts on this Bitcoin and crypto in this environment? It's traded more like a Nasdaq. I mean, it's got about 80% correlation with the Nasdaq now. So the market heads lower. I mean, it held up a little better, trying to hold in some support this weekend. But overall, I'm back into rallies are to be sold in this. And then if we get the close below about 38,688, I'm watching for a return to the low areas back from February 24th to January 24th. So that would be 34,830 to about 32,865. Just not bullish on these at all. I'm just pulling off those targets. Tired of looking at them right now. Ethereum tips into bearish mode at 2696. Other than that, again, if the Nasdaq takes another hit, it trades not like something alternative to it. It's trading pretty decent correlation with it. So that's where we sit. Let's just peek at, again, the mega cap custom index. Look at this. Back below the 62.5. So favoring a return to the 65.88 to about 64.15 area. And that's with the Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, Google, Apple. Now in these, as I went over on Friday, Google, I'm watching again for lower price action, especially with this breakdown. So any rallies are to be sold, especially bounce backs to about 25.28. But we can see much lower prices on Google, broke very key support. You can see all the bottoms testing right here, and it finally sliced through there. Not good. Apple still holding up, but you got the 62.5% harmonic just below here. You get a close below about 161.28. You could easily see a return to 153.84 to 150 on the short-term basis, and really longer term, if we do break below 150, it will get very interesting. What else do we have? Microsoft, again, closed below 62.5 back on the 11th of April, and finally breaking down into this key area I'm watching. Below 270, it gets really interesting. Below 270, longer term than I'm watching for 244. I actually think Microsoft will return to right around 200 in the next few months. All right. So that's what I'm saying. There's not a lot of great places to hide. There's not a lot of great stuff. And like I was talking about Coke. Coke, we might be putting in a short-term top, but here's what I was looking at this. Yeah, we're pulling back to daily rotation zone. We are coming off divergences. We have cycles rolling over, and Coke's PE now. Look at this. Can you see this above my head? 29. That's a Coke is, I mean, it's a consumer staple, and it's trading at P to E of 29. That's where there's no safety in some of these things. So that's where I'm getting. That's why I said titled this. What did I exactly title it? Nowhere to hide. There might not be anywhere great to hide besides getting into some potentially short-term bond plays on the bullish side. Short-term. LRCX. LRCX could have a strong pull lower based on a weekly chart. Yeah, look, return weekly rotation zone. All right, so here you go. Prior support area, see right here? Support, support, support on a closing basis. Close below it, breaking down, hitting that harmonic, bouncing, and then rolling back over in the weekly rotation zone. So yeah, and then this little spike up to here. I would not be bullish on this based off the price action. Yeah, you might be trying to set up a little divergence trade, but that would just be for another longer term rollover sell signal. Next target's lower, 432, then 400 essentially. But I think that will reconnect longer term with its weekly 200 coming in with this prior resistance becoming support. So resistance here, breakthrough there. This would be my longer term target area. Just by saying that, is that a contrarian signal? Just by saying what? There again, we could get the cycles still, and everything should point to some continuation lower price action at least in the beginning of the week. But longer, we could see pops again. You're still going to see those crazy rallies in this environment, but they're essentially to be more aggressively sold at this point. I don't think, again, long-term systems say no bottoms in sight yet. Do I have a timing on that? I've already talked about that. Anything over 8 weeks, the timing gets questionable with systems. So that's why I'm more worried about when they shift to bullish mode, but nothing's shifting to bullish mode, and actually more things are shifting to bearish mode. And still, there's way too many bulls around. There's way too many bulls. Yeah, no place to hide. That's, again, we can get some pops, but I'm not seeing any great. In the sectors, I'm not seeing great areas to focus on right now. And in a lot of stocks, I'm not seeing great areas. Could we get a rip-your-face-off rally out of nowhere? Sure you could. But even if I were to miss that rip your face off rally, I'd just be looking for more shorting opportunities. Personally, until something changes. And we're still not in the super bearish. People are like in the gloomy gloom area. Interesting with let me just check this with this LRCX. I just want to watch this on the daily. So we could have a little, keep an eye on this, because you could still get a slight pop higher, but that would just be a selling opportunity again. So just keep an eye if you're trading this to the short side at a 504.81, because the move above there, you could get a little short-term pop. That's the only thing, and that would take it back into the weekly rotation zone. Also, you do have a potential little divergence play here, but that could get wiped out on a push lower at the beginning of the week. Yeah, there's a lot of XME stocks have viable PEs, yes, but they're just not. I'm not seeing a lot of great technical setups just yet. There might be some that come, but I'm not seeing a lot of them just yet. That's what I'm saying. It's in that area that I'm going to be more in sit on hands and wait for setups and manage stops instead of trying to aggressively do anything from the bullish side. Unless something changes in the first couple days this week. And then that would be for short-term rally mode before long-term, again, sell mode. All right. I mean, you could energy. We could still be doing. I went into some stuff with that, but energy, you still could have a bigger pullback. P to E, like on XOM, it's at 16. It's fine. I'm not going to go through a bunch of stuff. Chevron, P to E 2024, but like Chevron, we still just update this. You still have a potential bigger double top here rolling off of there. This is where I'm sort of being patient, because we could easily come back down in Chevron. I have an alert set here towards this first target on this double, and then I get more interested. All right. Up here, see, it just broke below its rotation zone, which is held pretty well. Now it's below the daily rotation zone. I'm going to watch how it reacts at the 50. And then at this low, but you trigger this, I'll really be watching for that bigger pullback. So yes, they're not completely out of whack. However, these things from a technical standpoint could be due for a bigger pullback. That's where I'm just a little question. And I'll just go watch the sector overview if you haven't, but here's a little sneak peek. I'm watching an XLE to easily pull back to 74.34 to 73.91, and then potentially even go lower if we don't get a bounce play there. Now, it is still in long-term bullish mode completely, but it's very overextended. So I need to see at least the XLE start to put in some kind of bottoming pattern, and then I'll start doing my individual stock scans again on a more regular basis. All right. With that, I am going to wrap it up today. Hope everyone has a great rest of their weekend. Again, I will be on tomorrow morning. Not much news coming out tomorrow, or market moving stuff probably in the morning, but we can then see how Asia and Europe traded and fine-tune our levels for tomorrow. Thank you for joining me, everybody. And by the way, if you are new here and you did find this helpful, please do consider subscribing, ringing that bell, hitting that like button. It really helps support the channel. And again, tune into the podcast, Futures Edge. It's also on Spotify now. You are welcome, Amit. Thank you. You have a great evening too, Christoph, and I will see everyone tomorrow morning. Bye for now.